Big news tonight. Finally, after many decades, the Pentagon has officially confirmed what has long been obvious. They are, in fact, and have long been, in fact, investigating UFO sightings. In a statement given to the New York Post, the Department of Defense said that it continues to look into reports of, quote, unidentified aerial phenomena.
Did you really believe that this whole disclosure thing was going to rise up like a gentle mist, only to disappear forever? The knowledge of our visitors has been suppressed for over 70 years. And right now, as I speak, our species is going through the greatest paradigm shift since the dawn of time. The disclosure process can be likened to technology. Just as technology grows exponentially, so does the disclosure process deepen and escalate exponentially. The media is ramping up the coverage of this shift we're all going through. And this is going to become more prominent with every passing day.
We could soon be learning a lot more about UFOs. Yay. The Pentagon has finally admitted that it does, in fact, investigate reports of alien spacecraft sightings. This comes after the recent release of videos like this one from 2015 showing a U.S. Navy pilot's strange encounter.
The Tucker Carlson clip aired on May 24th. The 5 clip aired on May 23rd. These are but very minuscule samplings of what is to come. We are quickly entering a time period in which you will not be able to turn on your television and passage through 5 channels without hearing someone talk about our visitors. And it is not just the television that is going to capture the shift we're going through. It is social media as well. Every tweet I'm about to show you has been published within the last 24 hours. This one is by journalist Michael Tracy. No big deal, just the New York Times reporting on seemingly credible UFO sightings. More recent reporting on UFOs in the Washington Post. There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. Both these stories came about due to documented government efforts to suppress evidence of UFO sightings, which is exactly what conspiracy theorists have been insisting for decades. Harry Reid got an earmark for a secret Pentagon program specifically to investigate UFOs. I have some theories about the reason for this recent spate of UFO stories, which would have been dismissed as crazy talk not long ago, but I'm not going to publicize them right now because they'll inevitably come across as kooky, so biting my tongue for the time being. TV host Ben Hansen. These Navy UFO encounters are getting so detailed that it's difficult for even the most ardent skeptics to deny that something unusual is happening. Journalist Jeannie Jardine. 1. I am not a UFO believer. 2. This story is fascinating. 3. What non-woo explanations seem most likely? Here's the longest shot. These guys are not kooks. They're professionals who don't talk without clearance. The Navy doesn't talk without higher clearance. It's coming through the New York Times. We're being prepared to accept that we have encountered an extraterrestrial culture. Public Radio Newsroom Digital Director Rebecca Lavoie. Why isn't this the only thing everyone is talking about? They will be. They will be. And now for the May 26 bombshell article published in the New York Times titled, "Wow, what is that? Navy pilots report unexplained flying objects." This article is deepening and accelerating the disclosure process. And if you don't see the disclosure process happening right before your very eyes, if you don't see the transition that world society is going through right now, where everyone is starting to wake up and realize that we are not alone in this universe, whatever that means, then I kindly advise you to consult your physician and get your eyes checked and your hearing examined. According to the New York Times, strange flying objects appeared almost on a daily basis from the summer of 2014 all the way to March of 2015. And in fact, the DoD Department of Defense recently released 2 official videos where encounters with unidentified flying objects were recorded. This video showcases an unidentified flying object captured in January of 2015 off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida. And this video, also showing a UAP, was captured a few weeks later off the coast of Virginia. According to pilot Lieutenant Ryan Graves, these UAP would stay airborne for 12 hours, traveling at speeds in which they were staying airborne 11 hours longer than they really should have been capable of. Beyond that, there were no visible engine. When they were shown in through infrared, there were no visible exhaust plumes, and they could reach 30,000 feet and travel at hypersonic speeds. Quoting from the article, Lieutenant Acoyne said he interacted twice with the objects. The first time after picking up the object on his radar, he set his plane to merge with it, flying 1,000 feet below it. He said he should have been able to see it with his helmet camera, but could not, even though his radar told him it was there. A few days later, Lieutenant Acoyne said a training missile on his jet locked on the object, and his infrared camera picked it up as well. I knew I had it. I knew it was not a false hit, he said, but still I could not pick it up visually. At this point, the pilots said they speculated that the objects were part of some classified and extremely advanced drone program. But then pilots began seeing the objects in late 2014. Lieutenant Graves said he was back at base in Virginia Beach when he encountered a squadron mate just back from a mission with a look of shock on his face. He said he was stunned to hear the pilot's words, "I almost hit one of those things," the pilot told Lieutenant Graves. The pilot and his wingman were flying in tandem about 100 feet apart over the Atlantic east of Virginia Beach when something flew between them right past the cockpit. It looked to the pilot, Lieutenant Graves said, like a sphere encasing a cube. Here's a graphic representation of what the objects might appear as, and this is created by the 509th Conductor on Twitter. As you can see, these objects are spherical but house a square inside. Now, what would a New York Times UFO article be without a quote from the Village Skeptic? And here's his quote from the article. Leon Golub, a senior astrophysicist at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, said the possibility of an extraterrestrial cause is so unlikely that it competes with many other low probability but more mundane explanations. He added that there are so many other possibilities, bugs in the code for the imaging and display systems, atmospheric effects and reflections, neurological overload from multiple inputs during high-speed flight. I appreciate your efforts, Mr. Golub, but there's a bit of a problem that is emphasized in the following quote. What was strange, the pilot said, was that the video showed objects accelerating to hypersonic speed, making sudden stops and instantaneous turns, something beyond the physical limits of a human crew. Mr. Golub, I'm sure you understand that video can be examined frame by frame. Consequently, all of your citations amount to absolutely nothing in the face of high-resolution video. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Golub, that this phenomena could indeed be from another star system, and based upon the flight characteristics and the fact that there is no military inventory on this planet that can duplicate these maneuvers, it indeed is a legitimate, sane, and reasonable hypothesis. Now, I like Mr. Golub. Hell, I'd have a beer with him. I never met the man, but that's not the point. The point I'm trying to make is that Joe Murgia made a great point of what a rational skeptic would encapsulate. And here is his tweet making the point of how a skeptic could have come across as more reasonable than how Mr. Golub came across. They should get a real skeptic who says, this doesn't mean it's extraterrestrials, but we also can't rule that out. We have no idea what these objects are. And while some of it may be caused by pilot radar error, some of these encounters were up close, so it's a real phenomenon. Now, the irony is I agree with each and every one of those words. So does that make me a skeptic? Perhaps it does. But you know what it makes Mr. Golub? In my opinion, it makes him an ideologue. Right now, it is the morning of May 28th, the very day that hopefully you're watching this, because you're a dedicated subscriber. So you watch my videos the day they come out. Now, I came across another bombshell article on UFOs by the Washington Post, a new article, and it's amazing. We are going through the disclosure process. The paradigm shift is taking place now. Here is the tweet. I came across this article this morning, just published very recently, and here's what I tweeted. The disclosure process continues in full swing. The walls of secrecy are eroding, and people are waking up to the reality of UFOs. And the title of the article is Perspective. UFOs exist, and everyone needs to adjust to that fact. I don't have time to cover that amazing article, but maybe in a future video, I shall. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate if you followed me on social media. On Twitter, I'm at PostDisclosure, and on Instagram, I'm at PostDisclosureWorld. Thank you so much. I look forward to interacting with you on my Twitter feed and on my Instagram page. See you next time.